Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jumpscare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
This week we're covering 1987's Anguish.
Mrs. Pressman had high hopes for her son, John.
John is your best boy, isn't he, Mother?
Yes, John. You're my best boy and the best surgeon in town.
But the world conspired against him.
I told you to take these things out of my eyes.
Don't get upset. I
take them out. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Don't be sorry.
Until John found a way to please his mother.
Well, you did a good job, John.
Add to his collection.
All the eyes of the city will be ours.
And even get into the movies.
One, please.
You have no idea what it's like to really suffer. Ren, don't stop!
No one is going to leave here.
Do it. Don't stop.
Anguish.
See what happens when you disobey Mother?
Anguish.
We're continuing our theme for the month
of Jumpscare Goes to the Movies. Yay!
And we have ended back in the past again. It's the 80s. And we watched this film starring Zelda Rubinstein. That's what got me. I was like, oh, Zelda Rubinstein's in this movie? I gotta watch this movie. What is this? I've never heard about this before.
And Michael Lerner, who you'll know from everything. He's been in every movie throughout the 80s and 90s. He was Mayor Ebert. Get it? Mayor Ebert. Like Siskel and Ebert. But in Godzilla, 1998. Among other things. But yeah, you'll know him from 1,000 things. When you see his face, you're like, oh, that guy. Yeah, he was literally in everything.
Now, this film, I was very surprised on. This is the most meta film ever made, I think.
Yeah.
It is pretty meta. It is before meta was even a thing.
There's one of those deep thoughts that says if you're ever watching a play about a play in a play, just sit back because you're in for a ride. And I feel like that applies to this because we're watching a movie about a movie. Yeah. It's crazy.
So going in, we just knew that this was going to be set at a theater and there was a killer on the loose. It didn't really delve too deep into it. I don't think the description of the film really gets into what this film is about per se. Yeah. I think what they give you is the movie that the audience is watching, not the movie the real life audience is watching. That's the description they give.
They're trying to kind of not spoil this, but at this point it's 37 years old. So you start watching the movie.
Well, there's a warning before the movie.
Yeah, there's a warning before the movie that there will be subliminal messages in the movie and that you might be hypnotized during the film. Let me see if I saved the actual warning here. I think I did.
And that they're not responsible.
It says, during the film you are about to see, that you will be subject to subliminal messages and mild hypnosis. This will cause you no physical harm or lasting effects, but if for any reason you lose control or feel that your mind is leaving your body, leave the auditorium immediately. If you feel like your mind is leaving your body, immediately jump up and run out of the auditorium, because that sounds safe.
But wait, if you jump up, didn't you just leave your mind behind?
You may be. I don't know. I thought that was going to come into play more during the movie, but it really did not.
Well, no, it did. Because...
Yeah, where they would start watching the thing later, yeah.
Yeah. So you're watching the film. The film opens up, and let me tell you, this is another movie, and I don't know what it is because this director is from Spain, right? I think he's definitely on that side of the world. And obsession with eyeballs. Like, I don't know what the obsession with the eyeballs is.
Yeah, he's from Barcelona.
But, and I'm not sure, he's a director, so...
He's the writer and director of it, is this Bigas Luna.
Boom. So, yes. Obsession with eyeballs. This is another eyeball film. There's a lot of very creepy, I would say disgusting, images of, like, someone getting, like, eyeball surgery, and that shit was real. It was, like...
Yeah, that was an actual eye surgery that they just let them film.
Which I was just, no. And then the man is standing, Michael Lerner standing in a room full of, like, detached eyeballs that it's, like, in cases.
Yeah.
It was very gross. Cool, but gross at the same time. So you're in it to win it. You're watching this movie. Zelda Rubinstein is in there.
She's Michael Lerner's mom, even though she's only a few years older than him.
Yeah, she's his mom, and he's an orderly in a hospital. And she has, like, fucking obsessions with slugs.
Snails.
Oh, snails. Well, they're just as slimy. And
yeah,
and
snails are not homeless.
That's true.
They take a house with them wherever they go.
And pigeons, which I feel like that's a weird mix.
Yeah, she's got a weird obsession with birds and snails, which is something that usually doesn't go together.
No. And she is hypnotizing her son to, like, steal people's eyeballs, like, throughout the city for, we don't know why. There's no reason. There's no rhyme or reason to why this is happening, because you're about, I want to say, 40 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong. I think it's like 40 minutes into the film. And then at one point it pulls back out of the film, and now you see that there's people watching the film. And you're like, oh shit, what's happening now? What's happening? What's going on? What? Is the movie that we've been watching for 40 minutes not the motherfucking movie?
No, that's the movie within the movie.
Alas, it was not. Yes. It was not the movie. I'm glad, because I didn't know where that movie was going. There, Michael Lerner and Zoe Rubinstein, there was a lot of weird shit going on. And you do continue watching the film as the audience watches the film, but two characters in the audience, Patty
and Connie, I think was their names.
I want to name her Tula, but yes. They're watching the film, and Patty and Linda, sorry. Patty and Linda are watching the movie, and, Patty's not having a good time. She's freaking the fuck out. She has the sweats. We weren't sure if she was aroused or terrified.
Yeah, she had that strange look on her face that could have gone either way.
And Linda is stone cold hard bitch. Like, she's just like, I'm fucking watching this movie. Shut the fuck up. You're ruining my experience. Like, what is wrong with you? This is just make believe. Like, man up.
And then there's like three like high school, college guys sitting kind of across from eating popcorn. There are a couple of them are like also kind of sweaty and into it. Like, yeah. You're not sure if they're turned on or if they're just terrified or whatever.
No, the guy looks terrified.
And I thought more was going to go on with them, but it really didn't.
No.
They were just kind of there, and you were like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's all we're doing with that. Okay.
So what the film does is it's trying to kind of tell you that what's happening in the film, called Mother, the name of the film is
Mommy.
Mother.
The Mommy.
The mom. Oh, Mommy. Okay, Mommy. That film has, there's like weird, like that black and white, like swirly hypnosis bullshit that happens, and
it's like the opening of the Twilight Zone. You get the little spiral spinning there, and it's like. Da, 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 da.
So the people are having effect, like they're going through something, the audience, while they're watching this film, because the son is being hypnotized by the mom like several times in the 40 minutes. And they're going through things. So the film shows you the other audience members besides the two girls, like you mentioned, the college guys. There's another lady in the back. There's several people that are being affected, and then others are not.
There's like an older couple that's just sitting there watching the movie like, yeah, this is fine.
Because that's the whole thing with like hypnosis. It's like there's people that it works on and there's people that it doesn't work on. So I thought they were going to go more with that, like you said. Not just the college kids, just like everyone else that's being affected. I feel like maybe the movie would have been better if those people did something like, not they turn into demons like in that other film, demons, but something, I don't know. But they're all going through things, and Patty is just looking at this dude, like sitting in like the next row over, like a little bit in front of her, and this guy is like constantly like shaking his fucking leg. He's looking at the watch. He's acting real weird. And she's acting weird because she's freaking the fuck out. And, you know, there's a lot going on in the movie. Because you're watching the movie.
And at a certain point in the movie that they're watching, the Michael Lerner character goes into a movie theater and just starts murdering people in the movie theater. Just stabbing them in the throat and stealing their eyeballs.
And that's where the shit starts to fucking go, like, south. In the real, for the real audience watching this film, because the chick finally goes, Patty goes to the bathroom because she's freaking the fuck out, and she's in there, and then someone else joins her in the bathroom, and she just looks down, very Scream-like, or I should say, Scream, wink wink, this whole thing, looking at the shoes. No, the whole thing with the shoes, even in Scream, everyone's a suspect, right? So she's looking at the shoes, and then a piece of gum gets dropped on the floor. And you know what? I thought the horrifying part of the movie, besides the eyeball surgery, was going to be this person picking up that gum from the bathroom stall and putting it back in their mouth. Because I was just like, I can't fucking handle it. We're going to have to turn the movie off. That's where this is going to go. Can't do it. So you see that. And she's like, oh, hell no. And she runs out.
Because she decides it's a man in the bathroom just based on the shoes. And then we see coming out of the bathroom, it's not a man, it's a woman who is just a little chunky and wearing like guys-looking shoes.
Oh my God.
And she's just like, oh, well, I saw feet that they were not dainty little feet with like high heels on, so I just assumed it was a man in the restroom. And you're like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, she's wearing sneakers, so I don't know why she had that thought, but nevertheless, this is after she convinces her friend Linda to go in the bathroom, and Linda goes in the bathroom, and then she sees the woman in the bathroom, and then she ends up going to the bathroom while Linda's in the bathroom.
That's when the real murderer in the real movie decides to just come out with a gun and just start taking people out in the theater.
So he comes right into the theater, and the girl at the concession is like, oh, you again, how many times have you? And then she gets blown away, like shot straight to the fucking head. And he's just taking the people out that are at the front, and then he drags their body into the men's bathroom, where right before Linda, she goes into the men's bathroom and fucking hides and sees the concession girl being dragged in by the real killer. So, mind you, at this point, Linda's feeling pretty bad. Because this whole time, she thought she was like telling Patty she was crazy and that she was annoying and whatever. Mind you, yes, Patty did not actually know that there was going to be a murder that was going to be entering the scene. But it did happen to be the guy that was constantly looking at his watch. So her instincts were kind of on point.
Just not at the right time.
Not at the right time. Now, what's annoying about the film is that there is a point where right before the actual murder in the actual film that we're watching, right before that all happens, she tells her to leave. And that's when that's right before she goes to the bathroom. Why didn't she leave? Now, obviously, we know why she didn't leave. We didn't want to have a movie. There's no movie she leaves. But in these scenarios, it's like, why would she sit there in agony? It was broad daylight too. I thought it was nighttime, and
like she didn't want to walk home at night or something.
Exactly. But it was, I mean, it couldn't have been any brighter out there. It was like sunglasses day bright outside. So I don't know why she did it. And it's not like she was 10. She couldn't like walk home alone.
Or take a bus or something. Call someone else.
Yeah.
Just but because it was the 80s, people still had phones at their house. You could call someone and be, hey, come pick me up.
Yeah. Also, I would like to point out that, yes, this movie was made in the mid-80s. So everyone is going to look very mid-80s or 80s-esque.
Oh, yeah, they sure did.
But they did. Shad confirmed everyone's outfit were actual outfits people wore during that time frame.
Yeah, even the dude that she runs to later for help is like, oh, yeah, that guy. I've seen that guy working around at different places. His, like, weirdly colored jacket that he was wearing, yeah, that was a thing.
Now, while we were watching the Mama movie, before we knew
the mommy
movie, whatever, before we were watching the Zelda Rubinstein film, oh damn, I can't say that because meta. I was like, where is this going? What is she gonna do with these eyeballs? Like, was it allowing her to see into the future? Now, you're like thinking, Betty, what the hell are you talking about? You have not said that this woman has any kind of like telepathic powers or whatever. But alas, she did. She had some kind of powers because she took a caracol, okay? And I'm going to say it in Spanish. She took a seashell, okay, a conch. She held it up to her like it was a phone, okay? And this thing was like the size of her head. Which, in, reality, wasn't that big because Zelda Rubinstein's head was, a little smaller, but it was huge. And she puts it up, and she's, like, listening to, like, conversations that are happening across town.
And she's talking to the son.
Yeah.
Not necessarily through the conch shell, but she's just talking to him in his mind. He's hearing her, which could have been him just hearing her, remembering her saying things to him. Or she could have been talking to him. It was hard to tell. And
then she went back to, like, him being a fucking fetus. I don't know what was going on there. That was very weird. But that wasn't even the whole hypnosis thing. There is a part of the film though that it took forever. I thought it was never going to end. Actually, it was the hypnosis portion. I'll probably think the third time that she hypnotized him, but he was at home at this point. And man, that went real deep and for a really long time. It was bad. I feel like they could have, that was just like filler. They could have cut that out.
Yeah. They just needed to round this movie to 90 minutes because it needed to be, 90 minutes. And they're like, well, just add another hypnosis scene where people are just looking at each other doing crazy things. Michael Lerner's running with his arms up. Zelda Rubinstein's running with her arms up. It's crazy.
Now, you don't get too much from the actual person, the gunman, at the theater. He goes and he's seen what we've gathered from what the one-liner they had in the film. He's seen the film so many times that we're assuming he got kind of fucked up and hypnotized, and he thought that Zola Rubinstein was his mom and he wanted to make her happy. So he decided he was going to go on a killing spree, but he wasn't ripping anyone's eyes out. He was just shooting them.
Yeah, he was just shooting the shit out of everybody that he could get around.
Yeah, and he starts, because he's seen the film so many damn times, he literally mimics what Michael Lerner's doing in the film. And what Michael Lerner does in the film at one point is that he locks everyone in the auditorium, like in the theater. And so does the killer. And he goes and he just...
The killer in the mommy movie.
Yeah, the killer in the mommy movie.
They're just tying all the doors shut using the fucking, like, tensor barriers, those things you stretch out from the things. He just takes those and is tying all the doors shut with them. But
then the gunman and the real life scenario...
is doing the same thing.
He's doing the same thing. I feel like he was doing it... He was doing the same thing. So he's locking everybody in there. And... yeah, he just goes on a shooting rampage.
Yeah, and he's just like randomly yelling at people. And then when the cops finally get there, when her friend gets outside and is like, I always hate this in the movies when people run up to someone like, there's a murder or something happened in the building, they just run to a total stranger and go, please help me, please help me. You know how to dial 911. Go to, if I know it's the 80s, go to a phone booth, go to a business and say, hey, there's people being killed at the movie theater. Or if you don't think they won't believe you, say the movie theater's on fire. You need to dial 911.
Yeah.
When the fire department shows up, it'll still be someone there to do something.
I have questions. So, in the phone booth, because I don't have a lot of experience with those, when you dial 911, did you have to put your 25 cents in? No, that was free. That was a free call. Okay.
911 was free.
But, like you said, a lot of the times they would just think that's a prank because, I would say, unfortunately, that wasn't a time frame where that was like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happens. That was a thing that did not happen.
Yeah. Look, there was a whole song in the early 80s called The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun. And everyone thought it was a novelty, hilarious song because what kind of person goes to school and shoots the place up? No one. It's obviously a joke.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, even if you thought they wouldn't believe you, call and say the theater's on fire. The fire department will come out to check. Even back then, even if you called and said, just call 911 and say, I need the police at the movie theater. You don't have to say why. Just say you need the police. Someone will come out there and see why you need the cops, You don't need to go to a random stranger and have him help you dial 911. I think you can figure it out. But they always did that in the movies. Like, please help me. Help you to do what? Call the police. Call the fire department. Call someone. Don't just stand on the street screaming for help. That made no sense to me.
I agree. So, when you were watching the film, is there at any point did you think, yeah, what the fuck?
When they first pulled back and you saw it was in the movie, I was like, oh, this is where we're going. Okay. I thought at first, like, are we going to find out that this is like a movie based on real events? And then we're going to go to like someone's copycatting it now or something? I thought that's what it was going to be, which it kind of was. But yeah, that was where I was just like, oh, okay. And after that, they didn't do a whole lot more with the premise after that. You didn't really know why it was happening. Like, this is kind of like the movie in Demons that they're showing that makes everybody turn to demons. You don't really know why that thing is like that. Like, who brought this movie? A guy in a steel mask brought the movie in that one. But why? Why did he bring it? What was he trying to... they don't really get into it. Same thing on this. You don't know where the movie that they're watching called The Mommy, like, where did that come from? Who put the hypnosis in there that's making everyone go crazy? They don't bother to explain that. It's just happening.
Yeah.
Just weird.
Maybe it's just one of those things that it didn't intend to happen, but it did happen, but it's just you can't link the two.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And we're assuming like maybe there's a new movie that has come out, so it's not like everyone knows like, oh shit, this movie's making people kill people. Like,
This is the opening weekend. We haven't seen a lot of craziness yet.
That would have been cool if in the end you see like a newsreel or you hear on the radio like, oh, in California, a crazy man went on a killing rampage of the theater where, like, oh shit, this is like affecting. That would have been mega meta because it was already meta. You
start seeing like hearing the thing like, oh, it happened in New York, California, Florida, Canada. It's happening everywhere that shows this movie. A murder happens in the theater. Like, okay, that would have been kind of cool. Then you're like, all right, so somebody's doing some shit.
See, but what I told you about the disclaimer at the beginning of the film sets you up because the disclaimer's telling you that this movie has hypnosis in it. You might get fucked up. If you don't feel good, you need to leave the theater. And then we have someone that is watching the film, the mommy. Good. They're not feeling good with a girl, but I'm saying like the guy was affected by the hypnosis.
And he just kept coming back and watching it over and over again.
And he was getting more and more like fucking hypnotized and infected, and he lost his fucking mind.
Yeah.
So the disclaimer sets that up for you. Like, this is the effect the Mommy movie you're gonna watch is gonna have or can have on you. And then someone actually does have it. That's, watched the film so many times. Now, the ending is very, I always want to say Texas Chainsaw-esque, but it's really, that one that ends with the girl like in the hospital, and then she like wakes up and like it's like, oh shit, like it was all a dream, but she thinks that people are coming after her still. I don't remember the movie, but the ending of this film is just like, what the actual fuck? Okay, so after the SWAT team comes in, they eventually save the day because they had so many opportunities.
Yeah, this is the worst SWAT team in history because they came in, they could have taken a shot to take this guy out multiple times. They're just like, let's just keep waiting.
And also, this is what annoyed me about that scene. They have, like, let's say the captain is outside, right? And he's telling them, like, do you have a shot? Is this clear? What's happening? Like, he's fucking telling them what to do. He can't even see anything. Why do you have 3 guys, SWAT members inside? If they don't know how to fucking do their job, they need to get fired. Like, why do they have to wait for someone that's not even has any view of what's going on in the interior to tell them how to go about doing it? Isn't that the whole point they went in training? Like, that part just fucking annoyed me.
Yeah, it was not, like I said, it's the worst SWAT team ever.
They had so many opportunities. But after the guy,
it's finally taken out by SWAT.
Finally, right? Because he was holding Patty as a hostage, and in front of the movie screen, where everyone else, some of them a lot of people got murdered. Some of them were able to get to like the opening door, like behind a curtain where they couldn't be seen anymore. They were there just like trying to get the fuck out.
Yeah, they're by the emergency exit, just hiding out.
And then they have other people like behind the chairs hiding out, like on the floor or whatnot. After all that was said and done, Patty, who has been losing it since we were introduced to her, she was sweaty as hell, grabbing her stomach, she going to the bathroom, like she just not having a good time. She looks at the screen and Michael Lerner's character says he's holding the scalpel out, and it's like directed towards her. Like the way they did it was pretty clever.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's talking to her. And he says, oh, well, you think you're going to get away? I'm going to get your eye too, or some shit like that. And he throws the scalpel and it hits her in the fucking eye. And you're like, what the actual fuck just happened? Like, what fourth dimension, like, bullshit just happened right now? Like, what the hell? So you're like in disbelief at that moment. You're like, okay, so now this is a supernatural movie. Is this why this is happening? Because the movie has some fucking kind of crazy powers and it's doing all kinds of crazy things. But they cleverly showed you the view in her mind. Like, she's holding a scalpel and there's blood all coming out and she's freaking the fuck out. And I love how, like, all the policemen are, like, checking on the dead man. There's, like, 5 SWAT members, like, checking on the dead guy. The fucking hostage chick who's losing her mind. She's screaming and flaying about and freaking the fuck out. No one is paying attention to her. Because at the time, the men in the room were like, that's just a woman being a woman. She just cray. Like, that. It was just like an everyday thing in their life.
We don't have time to deal with a crazy woman. We got to deal with this guy. Which I understand. You got to check him, make sure he's dead. He's not going to pop up and start shooting.
But it don't take 4 motherfucking guys to fucking assess that. And then you have the white, people all dressed in white. Those are the people from the psychiatric house. Like, those are the people that taking you to Bellevue, the crazy house. They have that all white, like, outfit. And they're taking the chick away because she's lost her fucking mind and she's still holding her hands like if she's trying to grab the scalpel out of her eyeball. So what they did was very clever. And you can't tell as the audience, like, wait, did it happen? Did it not happen? We don't know. We saw blood come out of her eye, but...
now we see that she's okay. It's all just in her mind.
Yeah, she pulls back and you're like, oh shit, her eyes are fine. So she gets to the hospital. She wakes up. Sees her mom and dad. The doctor's like, she just been through some shit. I'm gonna do the monologue of the doctor, but set in 2024. This is the bitch. Okay, she just had a moment, and now she will be fine. She'll probably need some therapy. She needs a lot of rest, but she's okay. And
so everyone, get the fuck out of here and go home and let this girl sleep.
Yep.
She doesn't need company or companionship to calm her down. She needs to fucking sleep. I love the doctor's orders. She's going to go to sleep now. When she wakes up, give her another sleeping pill.
Yeah, give her tranquilizer.
Yeah, knock her ass out.
So she's okay, grabbing herself, like holding on to herself because she's like freaking the fuck out. Mind you, it's daylight outside, but okay. She's freaking out. Friend leaves. She goes, don't worry, I'll be back later, whatever, because the friend was there, obviously, holding her hand. Friend leaves, gets in the elevator. The camera's point of view is like just set directly to like up close. Like this is an up close view of just like her fucking head and her shoulders. And it pulls back a little bit and you see like there's like a little cart and like an orderly, and the person puts gum down on the tray. And then she gets her fucking throat slashed. And you're like, what is happening? And then you see get off the elevator, it's going down the hallway, it enters the room, and then you see the reaction of Patty, and she's like, and she's so terrified. She's doing the silent scream where she can't cry out for help because she's just, that's it. She's done so. Like, she just can't. And then the camera points of view, like, finally shows you, like, who she's looking at. And it's fucking Michael Lerner.
Who's in the real world now.
Yeah, he's in the real world, and he has a little, like, flashlight thing, like, checking her eyeballs. And it just, like, ends with, like, going into, like, a close-up shot, my favorite shot of the whole film, besides the eyeball, which I liked but did not like, of, like, her cavities in her mouth, because she's screaming, and you just show her, all her cavities. She had a lot of cavities. Or the silver fillings, the silver fillings, because they didn't have the white fillings at the time. I'm sure they probably didn't in the mid-'80s. So, yeah. And then movie ends.
And then you back up, and you're watching the audience walk out of the movie.
No, yeah. This is the best part. Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, mine too. The movie ends, and then you backs up, and you're watching the people leave the theater, and you're like, oh, okay.
So you saw a movie where people were watching the movie that you were watching. So now the movie that just ended that we're watching as the real audience in real life, like Shad and I are watching two films that have ended, but now it pulls back, and now that movie, the real movie has ended, and now there is the audience leaving that film. And my favorite, everyone leaves but one dude. He waits until the fucking end of credits.
And then like he puts his last coat on and he leaves. Bravo.
And
I think that was the director's
And then we
brother.
turned around and we saw people leaving our room, which was kind of fucking weird because it was like our bedroom. Like, where the fuck did these people come from? Yeah, so yeah, it was wild.
So this movie's nuts. We watched it on the Full Moon channel, which I think is the only way it's available streaming right now. I don't know if there's a DVD release of this or not. I would be interested to see some behind the scenes stuff on this and see like what the hell these people were thinking, you know? Like what was going through your mind when you made this movie, guy?
I'm telling you, I think it was like the Last Matinee, like Argentinian movie. Another Spanish film that we covered about the Come Ojos, which we've mentioned many times. And that is another Spanish film about, it was set in a theater as well, people watching a film, and then someone going in and killing and stealing the people's eyes.
Yep.
What is going on? I get the whole, like, the eyes are the window to the soul kind of thing. Okay, fine. But, hot damn. I'm about to not go back to the theater again if I'm going to leave, like, or if I'm not going to leave and I'm going to have my eyes gouged out. And I'm going to tell you right now, you just picked the wrong person because I am fucking blind. Okay, you're not going to see shit. It is mad cloudy in there.
So I'm going to go ahead and rate this movie at one knife.
Damn, one knife? I'm not going to, I don't want to give it a rating. No rating. And I'm not saying that's a bad or a good thing. I like the movie in a weird way. It was kind of entertaining. I liked how meta it was. And that, I give it, for just the meta part of the film, which is the whole film, I gave it 4 stars. 4 knives. I'm never going to get this rating right. 4 years in, it's always going to be stars for me. Four Knives. But I don't know. I don't want to give it any rating. I'm not going to give it a rating.
Okay.
No rating. No rating, but all rating.
There was a couple interesting parts to it, but otherwise it was just annoying.
Yeah. If there was more, you can have the mommy movie. That can be like weird and whatever the fuck, right? But then the actual film that we're watching as the real human blood like life audience, that needs to have a little more meat to it and you need to have something for it to make sense. A little more. Even like fucking 2 lines would have done it. It doesn't have to be like an explanation like the whole fucking rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It just needs to be said like, okay, this is what's going on, or okay, this is what and then that's it. And then just continue the film. But it was so ambiguous, and you don't really know, like, was the guy affected by the movie? Did the movie have an effect on people? Like, you make that assumption because you see at the beginning of the film several different people, like we mentioned earlier, they look like they felt queasy, and they're, like, sweaty, and they're, like, going through something. But you don't really, nothing ever goes, into that. And that's why I say that's what the whole play was with the disclaimer, is that they're telling you this because they're letting you know. So then when you see that the audience members are experiencing it, you're like, okay. And then supposedly, like, the real people watching it, are they getting that feeling? Is it the power of suggestion?
Yeah.
That's whatever. So if they would have at least rounded that part,
give it a little something to tell you what's going on.
Yeah, it would have been good. But you know what? For a movie in the mid-'80s by Full Moon...
they're putting it out now. I don't think they made it back then.
Oh, okay.
Full Moon wasn't a thing until like the late 80s, early 90s. It's just on their channel now.
Okay, fine. I take that back. A movie that's in the mid-'80s, it's not a slasher. It's not the typical film. And it was fine.
All right.
I give it 1.5 knives.
Oh, so you decided to rate it?
I'll rate it. 1.5 knives.
All right.
The meta part is my favorite part.
Okay.
Well, that concludes this month's Jumpscare Goes to the Movies. Thank you for joining us on this magical ride. And stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.